The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Hey, baby! We're gonna be here all day, baby! I like this kind of party! I like this kind of party, baby!
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg, Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
So, having just come back from the East Coast,
How did you enjoy the proper time zone?
no, that is what I need to ask you people. How do you function?
Everything's on at the right time here. That's the way we look at it.
That's how it works. You wake up around, 8:39. You watch ESPN for like 5 hours, and then the game starts.
Right. Everything's at the proper time in the East. It's the West Coast that's messed up. I mean, Monday Night Football starts at 5:30 out there.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That's Monday afternoon football.
No. That's nothing.
It's Monday afternoon football. Here it would be Monday afternoon football.
So I went to the Ducks Capitals game, which was freaking insane on Sunday.
Yeah, congratulations on that, by the way.
That game started at 3:00 in DC. And so by the time we got back to my buddy's apartment, it's 7:30. We turn on the TV, and there's still 8 minutes left in Patriots Vikings.
Right.
And it's like 7:30, and they're like, Sunday Night Football to start for another hour. I'm like, what?
Yeah. See, everything's normal
because
here.
It's Sunday night football.
Right. It's not Sunday afternoon football.
That's the nighttime.
It's like midnight time. That's
8 o'clock's not midnight.
Then I went to dinner. By the time we got back to the Airbnb we're staying at, it's 11:30, and there are still 10 minutes left in the stupid football game. Back home, the game ends at, I don't know, it starts at 5, ends at 8:35, 9. And that's like, okay, then that's the end of the night, and I have a little bit of time to kind of wind down and then go to bed before I have to go to work in the morning. If I'm a normal person on the East Coast, and say you have to get up for an early morning job, you're not seeing the end to any of these football games, are you?
Well, that's a big complaint with the late start times, especially like with the NBA Finals and the World Series and all that. That's one of the major complaints on the East Coast is that a lot of people won't stay up until midnight. I mean, there were a couple World Series games. I think it was maybe this year, last year for sure, where they were still playing at 12:30, 1 in the morning, but they want the primetime money. But you got to start the games at their normal time. Like here, an Indians game normally starts at 7:05. Even if it goes really long, you're still done by 11 at the latest.
But that's what I'm saying too, because I remember the only time this ever happened to me before was, when I was a kid, I would go to New York with my family, and I remember my shock as like a 10-year-old when I picked up the newspaper, and I'm like, all right, let's see what did the Angels do last night. Score not reported. What does that mean? What do you mean the Yankee game didn't finish in the 7th? What are you talking about?
Well, this isn't totally foreign to you because baseball and hockey start at their normal times out there.
But 7's normal, and then it ends, and because there's no other time zones behind us, that's it. That's the end of the sports day.
Talk about East Coast bias. As far as we're concerned, once the East Coast stuff's done, the sports day is over. Whatever you guys do, whatever.
I'm just saying, like, Hockey Night in Canada always has a doubleheader, right? There's the Leafs game, and then there's, whatever Vancouver's doing or whatever. And then, like, I always just go to bed after the Leafs game.
Yeah. The West Coast, you guys are important when it comes to the playoffs and stuff, but other than that, nobody cares.
Well, and for years, everyone always says there's East Coast bias, right? And you ask any reporter, they'll say, no, we pay attention. But once you go kind of experience it for yourself, you're like, bullshit. Any normal person is not going to stay up all hours of the night just to watch sports. Like, sure, it's your job, but if you're a normal person, you're not staying up till 2 in the morning just to catch, for most of the other sports, they end in a timely fashion, but I couldn't imagine being an East Coast baseball writer and, say the Angels-A's game goes into the 17th inning or something, and it's 3 in the morning.
I always worked nights, so I loved that. That's how I became an Angels fan, because I would get home from work, and that's what was on, were the Angels and the West Coast games, so that's how I started getting into it. So to me, it was great to have those late games. I still like it. To this day, I love it when a college football game comes on at 10:30 at night.
Conversely, I like when a college football game starts at, some of these games will start at 8 a.m. here, and it's like, oh, great. breakfast and football.
We survive it because to us it's the normal thing, and to you it seems so completely ass backwards, but yeah, to us it's just the way it is.
Yeah, it's awful. Like, because I was so used to my routine, I was like, all right, we have plenty of time to watch some football before the game. Oh, no, I'm going to miss all of the football today because it starts like by the time I'm already in downtown, not paying attention to TVs. Cool. The Rams did clinch back-to-back NFC West titles.
Yes.
The first team playoffs this year. So,
but the game of the day was Mike's Chargers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. That was pretty good.
I'm just saying.
There is no other team in any sport that could have a game come down to the circumstances that the Chargers had.
I felt so bad for Mike last night. And it was funny, too, because you were I was watching on regular TV, and you were still about 10 seconds ahead of me, Zach. So I'd be waiting for the kick, and all of a sudden I'd see, ha, 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 ha. I'm like, oh, my God, they're going to miss it. And then he would. But the Steelers, they were smart. They just kept going off sides because they thought, you know what? One of these times we're not going to be called off sides. Keep missing it, and we'll go to OT.
I think it's one of two things. Either there's some conspiracy theory I saw where someone's like, oh, the Steelers didn't have any timeouts, so this was their way of icing them. And it's like, oh, that's kind of weird because you're still just giving them 5 yards. And then the other thing,
the Chargers, it didn't matter,
right? But then the other thing was the Steelers were mad about some false starts that weren't called on the Chargers earlier in the game.
The one they missed on the touchdown pass was ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
My God. Come on. Of the good teams, we've got the Rams, the Chiefs, Patriots, the Chargers, Saints.
Chargers, yeah.
Which one do you have the least amount of confidence in right now?
Chargers. I'm just gonna tell you right now. No, it's the Chargers. It's the Chargers. Look, I am fucking ecstatic over the way that Sunday Night Football went. Because fuck the Steelers. And the fact that, this team scored 23 points after being dead in the first half, that they came back and played this way. At the same time, though, special teams is an issue. And I mean, you saw it right then. I mean, you saw it at the end. They needed essentially 3 tries to hit a game-winning field goal. And I've seen enough Chargers playoff losses that hinged on missed field goals to know that stuff's meaningful. And you've got to lock that stuff down if you want to have a chance in the postseason. And the Chargers still have special teams problems, and so I don't have faith in them to score when it counts come playoff time.
All right.
Yeah. I think the Patriots beating the Vikings, if the Patriots had lost to the Vikings, I'd throw them in there. But the Patriots are just showing who they are still. Rams solid, Saints solid. It's either between the Chiefs or the Chargers. And for all the reasons Mike said about the Chargers, that their history doesn't exactly lend to their confidence or success. But you can say the same thing about the Chiefs and Andy Reid. And for all the great things Patrick Mahomes has done, he is also still kind of acted like a first-year quarterback, where he's a gunslinger and all that. But, that stuff works when you're playing Jacksonville. That stuff works when you're playing Oakland. Based on the way the seedings are right now, let's say the chalk wins out and you have Chiefs Steelers in the wild card round or in the divisional round. That's a game that I could see the Chiefs losing.
The thing that made me hesitant on the Chiefs yesterday, the Chiefs let Oakland put 33 on them.
That was my point.
This isn't like a good team where you can be like, oh yeah, the defense, didn't look great, but they let it's like when they let the Rams score, what was it, 54? It's like, whatever. It was 2 high-powered offenses. It's the Rams. They had a really good game, whatever. No, this is the Oakland Raiders. This is one of the worst teams in the league.
Well, my confidence in the Chiefs was never that strong throughout the season. I was always a little bit worried because the defense is so suspect. Yesterday, they went straight to the top of my no confidence list in the playoffs. I have no confidence in that team that they can do what they've been doing all season in a playoff game. I would not be a bit surprised, and I don't know how many times it's happened since he's been there, but another first-round exit for Andy Reid would not surprise me one bit with this team because the Raiders, who have nothing to play for at this point, they're playing for absolutely nothing but a paycheck. To come out there and do that the way they did, that's ridiculous. Just ridiculous. I have no confidence in them at all. None. I got way more confidence in the Chargers than I do the Chiefs. Way more.
Right now, I'm not assuming that the Ravens are going to win a playoff game. So the Chiefs are either going to probably host the Steelers or the Chargers in the divisional round.
Yeah.
And both of those are problematic for Kansas City. Just because the Chargers have an offense that could hang with them if they needed to. And I think the Chargers do have some defense. Like, wouldn't that just be a playoff game to end all playoff games when it comes to which team cannot choke this one away the worst? But then the Steelers too, they should have won that Charger game.
The Steelers,
not even to the same they're all that good.
But they didn't.
I don't even know if the Steelers are truly all that good.
I don't think they are.
I think they have enough to be able to beat the Chiefs if the Chiefs have one of their, trademark playoff days.
What's going to tell the tale with the Steelers is when the Patriots come to town. Is it in the next week or two? I forget when it is, but that will tell the real story of the Pittsburgh Steelers because they're going to have them at home, and. Really, the Chargers, what was the Chargers came back, how far down were they in that game yesterday?
They were down by 16?
By 16, and they came back in Pittsburgh. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I don't have any confidence in the Chiefs. Of all the teams that are going to be in the playoffs, the Chiefs, I have no confidence in. None. I just don't see... I've talked about that defense being a problem all year, but yesterday it really drove the point home. It's like they can't play defense to save their lives. And you get deeper into the playoffs, it's going to be cold out. It's not going to be as easy to put 40, 50 points up, and all of a sudden, they've got issues. And I don't have any confidence in them. So that was my question. So we have 1 Chargers and 2 Chiefs, basically, right? For the least confidence?
Yeah. I think if I had to choose confidence in Chiefs over Chargers, I'd probably go Chargers over Chiefs.
Okay, and real quick, conversely, who do you have the most confidence in right now?
Well, it has to be the division champion Los Angeles Rams. Right? No, because there's holes there. As stupid as this is, it's still the Patriots, right?
Well, when it's all said and done, it almost has to be because when you take everything else out of it, you've got the intangibles. The Patriots have all of that.
Look, it's got to be the Patriots, and here's why. Like people have been, people are saying, "Oh, this is the year." They've looked weak this year.
Well, what kind of idiot would say something like that?
But my point is, like, you see people
roll the tape.
Like, I'm telling you, Tom Brady listens to the show and you pissed him off, Greg. So when they win the Super Bowl,
what moron was going around talking about the Patriots being done this year? Jeez, that guy's an idiot.
So when they win the Super Bowl this year, we can all blame you for riling Tom Brady up. But
yeah, no kidding.
No, because I've seen on the Kramer boards, for example, there is one poster. I'm not going to mention his name, but he really does not like the New England Patriots, like perhaps to an unhealthy degree, does not like the New England Patriots. Like,
wow, that could be. I was going to say we're going to figure this out, but that's a lot of people.
I get sports hate, but then there's this. But my point is that he's going on saying it's I don't trust the Patriots this year. Like sooner or later, the talent gap's going to catch up with them. And I'm like, honestly, they're 9-3. What talent gap? 9-3. That's you don't get to 9-3 as an untalented team.
Well, and they don't have like a Tyreek Hill or a Todd Gurley, but it's not like that. It's Tom Brady and a bunch of schlubs either.
Yeah,
I don't know.
If any, it's so weird to say that the Patriots are almost under the radar at this point. They're just cruising along, doing what they do, and
that's what's
nobody's really paying
them.
attention to them. And that's what's kind of scary is that you're not paying attention, and they're still the number 2 seed.
Right.
Like you honestly, right now, if somebody asked me, hey, do the Patriots, how many losses the Patriots have? I'd say, 4 or 5. No, they're 9-3.
Yeah,
they're just fine.
They're 9-3. They've got a solid. They're not losing that division. I'm sorry.
The
dumpster pile. And again, if we're gonna take ownership of stupid calls like me saying this would be the year the Jets finally pulled it off, let's see how that worked out for me.
The 3-9 New York Jets.
That's like 9-3 if you look
only
at it.
Missed by 6 games. It's not that bad.
Look, if you look at the mirror, they're 9
at first.
Jesus, the Dolphins. Dolphins can.
Oh, but did you guys see that game was beautiful yesterday? Dolphins in the throwbacks, Bills in the AFL throwbacks looked pretty good.
Yeah, aesthetically, nice to look at. But
aesthetically brilliant game.
Yeah, I know. I tried to watch it. I tried to watch it because of the uniforms, but I couldn't. It was just too bad.
It's one of those things where you skip it that day, and then you just wait for like all the pictures to come out the next day. And you're like, oh, that. You just look at it, and you're like, you know what? I'm not even going to look at the highlights. I'm just going to assume this game looked great, and but it's like I'm just looking at it. Like, I'm sorry, the Steelers, who like. I think people, just judging by the way people have been talking about the NFL this year, it seems like more people have been talking up the Steelers than they have the Patriots. Steelers are 7-4.
I don't get. I like. There was something I wanted to bring it up on the last show, but it's. I take the bait on some of these things where I see like Colin Cowherd video clips. And it's like, oh, NFL power rankings. And he was talking about the Rams. I'm like, oh, well, I want to see what he says. Why does he have the Rams so low? This is ridiculous. Who could be ahead of them? He had the Steelers as his number 2 team in the league like 2 weeks ago.
No.
Jesus.
Like, what in the hell are you talking about? This team hasn't shown that it's the same level as any of those previous Super Bowl teams that they've had there in the Ben Roethlisberger area.
No.
And I mean, they're a fine team. But I think the thing with the Steelers now is it really depends on how bad that James Conner injury is. If his ankle is not good going forward, then they're going to be in a world of hurt.
Yeah. Are they capable of beating any of the teams? Sure, but
maybe.
But I don't know that they will. They're like, if you rank the playoff teams 1 through 8 or whatever it is, I'd probably have them. Who would I think they're better than as far as a playoff team right now? Well, the Cowboys. I'm talking like AFC, NFC, both sides. They're better than the Cowboys, I think.
Yeah.
But again, I wouldn't.
They're better than the Redskins.
if the Redskins make the playoffs, yeah. But
they won't, but yeah.
But like the Cowboys, who else?
Are they better than the Texans, who are 9-3?
I don't know what to make of the Texans. They've won 9 in a row. You can't discount that.
Which is
but they haven't been. It's not like they've reeled off 9 world-beating wins. Like
no, they haven't. It's funny though. You know, talk about predictions. Back at the beginning of the year, I predicted them to go to the Super Bowl and looked like a moron for the first 3 weeks of the season, and now they're in the running for home field advantage. So are the Patriots. I forget about the Texans even being involved in this. You know what? Do we have more confidence in the Texans than we do the Chiefs?
No.
I mean, honestly, no, I don't.
Okay, no. So I think I do actually. I think I do.
It's so weird. The Texans are 9-3, but they're such an absolute nothing to me.
Yeah, but they're one of those teams that wouldn't surprise me at all for them to win a playoff game. They're a team that they can put it together for one day. I don't see them making the Super Bowl run I had them predicted for, but I could see them knocking somebody off in the first round.
Well, again, and the thing that's going to work out for them is if they can stay, they'll stay ahead of the 4th seed no matter what. So they're either going to be the 2nd seed or the 3rd seed by the end of it. And so if they stay at the 3rd seed where they are, they're going to play whoever happens to fall backwards into the 6th seed at the end of it.
Yeah, it's not going to be the Bengals at this point, unfortunately.
Right, but right now it's the Ravens. It could potentially be the Dolphins, the Colts, the Broncos, the Titans. I take the Texans over almost all those teams.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas, like, if you're the Steelers, you're stuck playing the Chargers again, and that's.
See, I think I know that Mike, and rightfully so, I think, with the special teams concerns. But I tell you what, man, I just got a gut feeling about this Chargers team this year. I'm telling you, and I think that they have got the right kind of balance. And not only that, but there's no such thing as being on the road being a problem for them because they've been on the road all year and they're 9-3. So the home field advantage thing means nothing to them. Nothing. And I think they could really do some damage in the playoffs. I've got a lot of faith in them, even though they can't kick a field goal.
You guys want to talk about the deluge of spring football all of a sudden? We could, because I think there's comedy there.
We'll be here for 3 weeks talking about new football leagues that just sprout up all the time. But to the only football league anyone will ever actually give a damn about.
Hey, the CFL.
Oh, okay. Below the 49th parallel. So the Ravens have won 3 in a row on the back of Lamar Jackson.
They have.
Joe Flacco was actually healthy for this game, too. And
he didn't dress for it, though.
Or did he not dress?
No,
I thought he was healthy enough to play.
He may have been, but he wasn't. He was on the sideline in a sweatshirt and jeans or whatever. Yeah.
Is this the end of the Joe Flacco era?
Yes. Don't you think they've been looking for an excuse to play Lamar Jackson all season, and now they have?
I think they've been looking for an excuse to not play Joe Flacco for like 2 years.
Yeah. Well, first they needed somebody to replace him. Now they have that.
Yeah.
I don't know what Jackson's stats were yesterday. Who'd they beat? They played
the Falcons. He only threw for 125 yards. I don't know what his rushing yards were, but
the defense really locked down that Falcons offense in Atlanta. So that's a good sign. Who knows what the Ravens? They're that team that you talk about the team that flies under the radar. Here they're going to be in the playoffs again, and they'll probably play the Saturday game and be out in the first round. But whatever, they're going to be there because they're the Ravens. Yeah,
right now that Saturday game looking more and more like Ravens-Texans. That'll be a barn burner.
Well, that's almost Ravens or Texans-Bengals. Almost.
Yeah, it won't be the same without Marvin Lewis.
Maybe the Ravens could hire him as a special assistant to the regional manager.
God.
Yeah, nice to see that hire really worked out for the Bengals, that coaching hire.
Yeah, no kidding. I think Lamar Jackson's the quarterback for the rest of the year for these guys, unless things go horribly wrong, right?
I think he has to be.
You have to stick with a dude's won 3 games in a row. Like you can't justify it to your locker room.
No, my understanding too is that the locker room is really behind him. They want him to be the quarterback, so you got to kind of consider that.
He's dynamic. He does things that Joe Flacco can't do, like complete passes less than 25 yards.
But we don't know if he is elite like Joe Flacco. That's the X factor.
We found out with Joe Flacco by asking him, and it turns out he is. So let's just ask Lamar Jackson, are you elite? If he says yes, then he is.
I'd love it for someone after a game to be like, Mr. Jackson, are you elite?
Was Flacco, the year they won the Super Bowl, was he halfway decent? I don't remember Flacco.
Did he win? I thought he won Super Bowl MVP. Did he not?
I don't remember.
Didn't they give it to Ray Lewis, though, that year? Because that was the year he was retiring, and he, ascended to the rafters.
I gotta look it up.
His antlers lit up. And
yeah.
Or no, I think they might have given it to the kick returner.
I don't remember.
That whole season is just like, oh, no, it was Flacco. It was Flacco.
Okay, yeah.
But I thought he was, I know that we make fun of him and stuff, but I don't think he's ever been a terrible quarterback. He's just not as good as he thinks he is.
Right. And that's the key. And really the other thing with him is that he made a living off of just throwing it very far and having receivers find the football,
or getting an interference call.
It's actually really hilarious that the Joe Flacco game plan is essentially like everyone go long. It's like you're playing pickup,
right?
Like as a kid.
All right, huddle up, guys. Okay, what are we doing? Everybody go long.
Everyone go long.
Yeah. You're playing Madden, just clicking verticals every time.
Right.
The Panthers, on the other hand, have lost 4 in a row.
Well,
hey, remember how many people wanted Cam Newton to be the MVP at a certain point this year? Yeah, look at that.
And this one's indefensible because it's against a dog crap Bucs team. This Bucs team is not good by any.
I think it was 3 weeks ago we were saying we didn't know what to make of the Panthers. I think we've got a better idea now.
Oh yeah, they're not great.
They're not good.
But what happened? Because they looked pretty good. Did they just fall apart? Was it the competition they were playing? What happened? Because
I think it's a defensive issue. Because you look at this game, you get Cam Newton 300 yards, 2 TDs, Christian McCaffrey 106 yards.
Yeah,
on the
but
ground.
Cam also threw 4 picks, didn't he?
Right.
Yeah.
And so he's. I guess you don't know what to make of Cam Newton. Is really kind of what this comes down to. The Bears of Chicago. Look, I know it's Chase Daniel and not Mitch Trubisky, and obviously Mitch Trubisky is probably elite.
I have it on good authority that Chase Daniel is as good as Drew Brees.
And I mean, look, with Chase Daniel in there, with Chase Daniel, they scored 27 points. I think the thing that you have to question is what happened to the Bears defense against the friggin' Giants of all teams.
To be perfectly honest, a Chase Daniel offense putting up 27 isn't half bad.
With that defense, that should be enough, especially against the Giants.
How do you let washed up over the hill traumatized Eli Manning?
It's not all on the Bears defense because there were, I think, 2 pick sixes by Daniels in this game.
My honest opinion on it is that no team goes undefeated, and you're always going to have one or two of those losses where you just look at it and go, what the hell happened? And I think that was one of those for the Bears.
We know the Bears are pretty good. We'll see how good that makes them. And really, it will also be a test for the Rams next week on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah,
Rams at Bears in Chicago.
In Chicago.
All right. See if the Rams can deal with the cold. See how they can deal with an elite defense and an elite defensive player.
See how they can deal with. All the Ditka fans in the stands. You know?
Oh yeah.
Todd Gurley is going to be the difference in that game. The cold weather's not going to matter a bit to him, and he'll be if they can get him going, they'll have no trouble with the Bears.
Which means they actually have to hand the ball off to him.
Well, so Todd Gurley did a funny thing here at the end of the Rams game. He scored a touchdown, and he broke off a big run with I think there was 2:30 left, and he's going straight for the end zone until he makes a direct right at the 2, and everyone's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And somebody asked him one of the reporters asked him about it after the game. He's like, "Honestly, guys, I just wanted to get the hell home. It was a long day. I was tired. We just wanted to run the clock and go home." It was like, all right, yeah. He ended up scoring a couple plays later anyway, so it didn't matter. But it was an honest response. It was just like, yeah, we just wanted to get the hell home. We wanted to get the hell out of here. I think.
What do you guys think?
Look, that's a fair reaction to being in Detroit.
Yeah, really. What do you guys think, though, when a player does that? I mean, Gurley's done it twice now this year. Forget who did it last year.
I honestly don't give a crap, to be perfect.
I always think that you never know in this league, and granted, sometimes the score's so far to hand it doesn't matter, but I always say get the touchdown regardless, because I think it's almost a little – you rub it in a little more by not scoring. To me, it's like you're going, okay, see, we're going to take it easy on you because we've beaten you so badly. To me, just score the touchdown, the hell with it. You know? Yeah.
And really at that point is scoring the touchdown going to make the game that much longer at that point? No. Yeah. And then it would still be 30-16. And the Lions would have to start passing and maybe there's a bunch of stops, but you'll get the ball back and kneel it and go. You can get out of there that way too.
I will say this. I watched some of that game. I'm going to give a lot of credit to Detroit Lions fans. That team has sucked for as long as I can remember.
And they still show up.
They show up, and they're loud. And for a team that's going nowhere, that has really no hope of ever going anywhere. I mean, you talk about being 0 for anything that ever mattered. That's the Detroit Lions. They've been doing this longer than the Bengals have. And they were there and vocal and fully into it.
Yeah, but the difference is at least the Lions, try to improve themselves, with
coaching changes.
Coaching changes. They're it never works for them, but at least they attempt. There's an attempt to improve.
I remember when they went, I think it was 9-7. This was way back in the 80s, and they won the division that year. And that, boy, I tell you, that fan base was just losing their minds. I think it's great. I think it's wonderful that they're that into their team. But, man, it's got to be tough. Because it's worse than being a Browns fan, I think, to be a Lions fan. Yeah, the Browns have had a really bad stretch here in the past 20 years. But if you look at the overall history, not even close. Anyway.
I think the irrational confidence Colts hit a skid.
Yeah,
did anybody watch?
I wanted to ask you, Greg, with your the Colts are really good guys.
They are.
Tell me about it.
The Jaguars had lost 7 in a row. Cody Kessler was the quarterback.
Cody Kessler, Greg.
Well, the Colts defense held them to 6 points. Got to give them that. I don't know. I don't know what the hell happened yesterday. I really don't. And you guys both know the Colts are better than what they played yesterday. Come on.
Sure, but that still doesn't matter that they put up the results that they put up.
It still happened.
Did you see the way that – I don't know if you watched the end of that game. I have never seen a more poorly executed hurry-up offense in my life. They started out with 1:48, and I think a timeout left, and – just acted like they had 7 minutes and not a concern in the world. There was no urgency at all. It was absurd. I was yelling at the TV because all they had to do was score a touchdown, they win the game, more than likely. At least go to overtime, right?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I don't know what happened with the Colts there, but I still think they're pretty good.
And that's a big game at this point in the season because now there's 4 teams that are 6-6. They had won, they'd be 7, tied with the Ravens, 7-5.
Oh, yeah. When they miss the playoffs, this is going to be why, this game. They were saying that when the announcers were saying that. This is the one they're going to look back at and go, what? And I don't know what happened. How in the world?
I'll tell you what happened. Cody Kessler won a game.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Bortles facts that Cody Kessler, I don't know. I don't have a Bortles fact.
You let a team that started a guy from the Browns quarterback jersey beat you in an important game. A team that had lost 7 straight games. And you let this happen. And I'm sorry, but I wasn't. I mean, I don't. Zach's got the irrational confidence in the Colts. That's his, not mine.
Yeah, it came back, and then I saw that. I was like,
it came crashing back down to earth.
That seems to happen where we announce our irrational confidence, and then it.
See, this is why I don't have confidence. This is why I am doing things right. I don't even have confidence in my own team.
We need to start having irrational confidence in teams like the Patriots. Teams like that. Then we'd be fine. My irrational confidence Patriots.
Yeah. The irrational confidence in like the 5-time Super Bowl champions.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So, like I said, the Colts are 6-6 now, and they're in that mess in the Hunt graphic between.
With the Browns. Browns are still there.
The Browns are still technically in there.
Are the Browns still in the hunt even after losing yesterday?
Technically,
they're in the graphic. They're in the graphic.
Well, they're mathematically alive, but like I said, that's like when your girlfriend says we want to see other people. It's done.
Yeah. They're the 6th team listed on the In the Hunt graphic. So
hey, but still, for the Browns, that's a hell of a season. That's like winning a Super Bowl for anybody else.
So the Colts are 6-6. The Dolphins improved to 6-6 because the Bills almost won 3 games in a row, but couldn't
quite get that.
Could you believe the Bills were 4-7?
No.
Yeah, look.
They've stormed back.
It's amazing what happens when you stop starting Nathan Peterman.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm still half convinced, like, the Patriots will sign him and Bill Belichick will turn him into, like, Tom Brady's successor and he'll win 5 Super Bowls and that'd be, like, the best thing.
He's going to end up in Oakland. Wait and see. Because John Gruden's such a flaming douchebag. He thinks he can make that guy a quarterback. I bet
he's going to he'll end up as the Patriots League bowl champion. MVP.
A modern-day Tommy Maddox.
Yeah, truly. So the Dolphins hung on there. Who else was 6-6? The Broncos have stormed up to 6-6.
Yeah.
After beating the 2-headed chess master that is Marvin Lewis and Hugh Jackson.
That's like if you took Boris Spassky and Bobby Fischer and put them on the same chess team, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, just a real powerhouse there.
But don't you think though, with that much football genius on one sideline would just kind of cancel itself out? I mean, that's just too much. There's too much football intelligence happening there.
You can't expect 2 Bill Belichicks to coexist.
Right. And that's what this is like.
But yeah, the Broncos have won 3 straight out of their bye week.
Yeah, I'm still not convinced on the Broncos.
Not getting back on that Case Keenum train?
Look, we all saw what happened last year when Casey Keenum was playing much better football and he still imploded in like the NFC title game. So,
right.
Like, again, it's like you live by Case Keenum, you die by Case Keenum.
What does the Broncos' schedule look like the rest of the way?
The rest of the way, the Broncos they're at the Niners, they host the Browns, they're at Oakland, and they host the Chargers.
Wow.
That's a winnable stretch.
They can win 3 of those. I think the Chargers will be tough, but the other 3, those were easily winnable games.
Yeah, San Francisco, Cleveland, and the Raiders.
So they could be 9-7. They could be right in the hunt.
Oh,
wow.
They're in the hunt. They're a game out.
Yeah, but I mean that 9-7 might be enough to get it done because I don't know what kind of bloodbath we're going to get towards the end when teams start playing each other, but they could be there.
Sure,
they'd probably be on the road. I like the Broncos a lot better at home than I do on the road. I mean, the Bengals, well, again, with the genius of Hugh Jackson and Marvin Lewis combined, only bad things can happen because it's just too much. You can't expect mortal players to execute a game plan at that level. You just can't. And that's what the problem's been. Fucking Hugh Jackson. Somebody even said that they're talking about Hugh Jackson taking his place.
Yeah,
I swear. I said earlier
the nightmare scenario, which seems incredibly likely because it's the Bengals, is that when Hugh Jackson finally decides that he's
Marvin Lewis
Lewis decides that he's done.
Okay. fired up to the front office sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then they'll bring in Hugh Jackson to be the coach. Wouldn't you love that, though? Because now you get to play a Hugh Jackson coach team twice a year.
With my luck, especially this season in football, he would end up going 12-4 and winning the Super Bowl.
The other team that's the 6-6 in the hunt, the Titans, they beat the Jets.
I'm sorry, Titans. You know, we've had this thing going for 5-6 years now. I've got to see other people. I'm sorry.
So they beat the Jets, though. Come on.
I got to move on. When you started dressing differently, that was pretty much the beginning of the end, and now I've got to say my.
So before we move on, I'm not under any delusions that Titans Jets was a meaningful NFL game, but
it occurred. There was a result.
This is a perfect example of a stuff game.
Yeah,
like stuff teams like but the reason why I want to stick on this is because I want to reiterate to everyone, enjoy these Jets uniforms while they last, because we've got some information on the new Jets uniforms.
Oh no.
Now we don't have anything by way of colors or logos, but
are they going to take after the Titans and like have their shoulder stripes be jet wings?
Real, no. How great would it be if they extended out like 4 feet off each shoulder? Yeah, come on.
Here's what we got.
They're going to add booster rockets into the back of their jerseys.
They're not going to wear cleats. They're going to have those little 4-wheel deals like the Jets have on real Jets. Like, yeah.
The Jets. The Jets released a video where they had some players talking about the new brand, the new uniforms they've seen.
These are always spectacular.
Here are some choice quotes.
Oh boy!
From a team executive, we want it to be exciting, bold, forward-thinking, and embracing our fans and players.
Oh God!
Quote,
those are meaningless words. Those meant nothing.
Here's a quote. It's going to be a dramatic change.
Oh no!
That always works well.
Another quote. Creating something new for the Jets. Such a bold change.
Oh my.
So bold.
Another one. I can't imagine in my lifetime that the Jets would make a change like this.
Oh God.
And the choice, this is the one that really puts me in the Han Solo, I've got a bad feeling about this mood. This is a quote from a player. I'm sorry, I don't have the player name, but he goes, "Wow. This is what the modern Jets brand is, and it feels right for today."
Oh, God.
Awful?
Yeah.
It feels right for a team that's 2-9.
When you start getting that, forward thinking, blah, 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 that's a road that always leads to bad places. Always. Look what happened in Tampa.
Look, we've kind of exhausted the options for what a football uniform can do. So I don't know how much more forward you can go besides what we've kind of done.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you start doing some weird metallic glow-in-the-dark neon crap.
Oh no.
And based on like the lime green that they've been using a lot, and the players talk about, I feel chrome coming in this.
You're gonna get like a chrome, like the chrome looking helmet with the green. It's gonna be like that crazy. I'm thinking a football version of those Hawks uniforms that came out a few years ago.
Oh God, that we all liked for like a day before.
Yeah, we all liked those for
about a day.
The day of the unveil, and it's like, hey, yeah, neat. And then they started playing with them. It's like, oh. Well,
that's not good, right?
I know what's funny about this, too, is that we've seen articles by 2 different teams now in the last week where the articles are basically like, get rid of these shit uniforms and bring back the good ones with the Buccaneers and the Dolphins. Dolphins players are like, we need to make these throwbacks permanent. And the Bucs were like, these things are hideous. We got to get rid of them.
Yeah. You had an ex-Bucs player saying, go back to the previous look.
Yeah.
The Tampa Bay Times flat out ran an op-ed piece saying, change these stupid uniforms.
Yeah. So you would think at this point that the bold and we've never done this before stuff would kind of read the room and go, maybe not the best idea.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do, but they're going to take what I think is a great uniform and ruin it.
Any of these Nike changes, unless they've been kind of subtle, like the Vikings.
Yeah, but even the Vikings, as good as it looks, has some issues.
There's issues. Yeah. This is why when we're talking about what the Rams might do for their unveiling, I just really hope they stick as close to the throwbacks as they can.
Don't get stupid. Just,
Look at your crowd.
The Rams haven't had the same sort of dumb design speak in marketing jargon. Like bold and innovative in the future. Like, no. The only thing they've talked about really is when they've tweaked all these things is we're listening to the fans, we're responding to what they want the blue and gold, and this is what we're doing. And it's like, okay, this seems like it's on the right track. Everything else that we've heard out of the Jets camp for these sort of things is very design school stuff.
It sounds exactly like what they were saying when Tampa Bay, before they changed. The same shit.
I mean, okay, this is going to be mean, but I don't care. It seems like the kind of shit that they teach you to say at, say, Full Sail University.
Right. Hey, look, I don't know if Full Sail's any good or not. It's hard to tell because they've only been around 5 years. But you're right. That sounds like the shit they would say.
You look at teams like, and I think the Browns are a good example of this because the Browns were kind of saying stuff like this, like we're going to be more forward thinking with like their design and
embrace the future, respect the past. That's the last thing you want to hear when they're talking about your uniform.
And the thing about the Browns is that, we've covered it before, how the Browns in 2020 want to change because that would be the 5-year window. Their 5-year window's up. They can change again. And in 2020, we've already heard Browns executives saying stuff like, we want a more classic look, which, again, is, like the one that you had before.
Yeah. The one that you went and fucked up for no good reason, that one?
But the point is, though, it's like that's how these trends go, is like you get a team of a classic look. Maybe someone in management thinks that they need to change it up because the on-field performance hasn't been the best. And then that leads to a situation where some executive gets sold on some stupid idea.
Yeah.
It hits the field, and then 5 years later, everyone's like, oh, man, that wasn't good, was it?
It almost makes me feel like they do it on purpose. They design something bad so they know that they can go back to the throwback.
Is this like a new Coke situation? The conspiracy theories, it's like new Coke was meant to get people to miss old Coke.
Well, and look, when it comes to people, and even the stuff was like, well, they do this to, boost merchandise sales. It's really not difficult, guys. You look at the top jersey sales in any of these leagues. You know who it generally is? The really good players and the really good teams. No matter what the hell they're wearing, it's the really good players and the really good teams. So all you need to do, New York Jets, is maybe just become a better football team. And if you really want to up your merchandise sales and you don't just want to do it with jerseys, you don't have to create a whole new jersey uniform set to design a cool T-shirt or something. If you make a cool looking T-shirt, people are going to buy it.
I mean, let's be honest. As people who are into the design end of things, the New England Patriots at best have kind of a middling look.
Yeah, but who's always one of the top jersey sales in the league?
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
Because dude's got 5 Super Bowls and he's a good quarterback, and people buy his jerseys. So
let's say the Cardinals were still wearing the Jake Plummer era home jerseys, just the plain,
the plain red.
With white numbers. If that team had the run of success the Patriots have had, the Jake Plummer 16 jersey that's just red with white numbers would be the top seller. The style has little to do with it. Zach's exactly right. LeBron jerseys sell. I mean, it didn't matter what iteration of it that you saw, they all sold because it's LeBron.
That's why on whatever team he was on, be it the Cavs, the Heat, or the Lakers, like they always come out with all of these alternates because. Sure. And I'm pretty sure the Cavs, the Heat, and the Lakers all know that not all these alternates are good, but it doesn't matter. You just want to get as many LeBron jerseys out on the shelves as possible because people like LeBron James because he's a really good basketball player and they buy his jerseys.
I got to think that, at least at LA, you've probably seen a lot of Todd Gurley jerseys, I'd imagine, or Jared Goff, Aaron Donald. And I'm going to guess 99.9% of them are the throwbacks.
Most of them, yeah. It honestly, it goes throwbacks, then the white jersey, and then the color rush jerseys.
But I have it on the non-scientific account of some people that they totally want the color rush to be the primary.
Yeah, people that don't live in LA and don't actually watch the games.
No, the smartest thing the Rams could do would be to just take those throwbacks and go, these are our primary uniforms.
Yeah.
And if you want to do an alternate, And I'd heard them talk about they want to honor the blue and white. Okay, make that your alternate. Make a new version of the old blue and whites. Make that the one you can wear twice a year. Since we're keeping color rush in the mix, you keep the yellow jersey and we're set. Done. That's it. Everybody's happy. No one's going to bitch about that setup. Not one person is going to complain about that.
No, I agree. That's pretty much the perfect way to go. But, we'll see. Hopefully they just,
Because I got to be honest, as much as I love those blue and white jerseys from the 60s, early 70s and the pictures, in the era of high definition television and all that, they don't look quite as good. I mean, obviously you've got the gold and they're not quite the same, but it's clear to me that the blue and gold is a much better color combination, and that's what they need to go with. Don't fix what isn't broken. And that's what the Jets need to learn too. It ain't broke, don't fix it. The reason people aren't buying your jerseys isn't because they're boring. Those are Joe Namath jerseys, for Pete's sake.
If there's any problem with people buying the current Jet jerseys, maybe it's because Nike can't even make them correctly.
Right, yeah.
Maybe talk to Nike and be like, look, we're paying you, not the other way around, so
learn how to make instead of making us change our jersey color, make it the right green, and we're okay.
Figure out how to do green, Nike.
But you're right, Mike.
You're an athletic company. Figure out green.
The couple of times that the Jets have made my best and worst list, I've said, enjoy these while they last because this is going to be it. And we're going to be clamoring for them by week 3 next year. Like, oh my God, why did they do this? You never know. I always hold out the slightest bit of hope that maybe this is the time where they modernize one and you go, that looks great. I don't recall it ever happening, but it could.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen in college a couple of times where I go, yeah, that's a really nice uniform. Good job. But
when it comes to like full rebrands of a team, like the Vikings isn't a full rebrand. It's more just tweaks. I mean, the Cardinals, I guess you call their uniforms a rebrand, but the logo is still the same. The only one that sticks out to me is one that worked was the first time the Bucs changed.
And they had, I think we all agree, it was like what we like to call a modern classic. It was a great, was it? Yeah, I mean, it wasn't, I wasn't perfect. I mean, maybe it was, but it was great. Every combo looked good. That team couldn't look bad no matter what they wore because there was no way to do it. The combinations all worked. And then somebody walked into the room with those ridiculous clown suits they wear now, and someone said, yeah, these are better. Let's do that.
I'm convinced because the owner, Malcolm Glazer, died like a week after those uniforms were unveiled. I'm convinced he was on his deathbed. No, he was on his deathbed already. He didn't know what he was signing.
How could you walk into a room, like say a meeting with the old uniforms and those new ones and go, yeah, these are definitely better? Who would think that?
Dude was probably on his deathbed, probably signing away, finishing up his affairs. He knew it was the end, and some Nike executive snuck in the order to change the uniforms.
And then the bullshit they piled on top of why the numbers were the way they were. And oh my God.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the games. We can do the uniform thing all night. So
back to the games.
We can still get back to Mike McCarthy finally getting fired.
Right. That was where I was going to go to. The Packers, 2 touchdown favorites at home to the Cardinals, lose by 3 points.
Greg, this is the first time the Chicago, St. Louis, Arizona Cardinals of Glendale have beaten the Packers in Green Bay in 69 years.
I know. Yep.
So obviously this isn't
literally something that has never happened in any of our lifetimes.
Now, to be fair to the Packers and to the Cardinals, they did beat them in Milwaukee a couple times when the Packers were still playing games there. But in Lambeau Field, it's the first time since before World War II or something. It's been a long time.
So obviously if Crosby makes that kick at the end, McCarthy isn't fired this week. But this was just the final straw that broke the back.
I say this as a Cardinals fan. This team is hot garbage.
Oh, yeah. Whatever improvements Josh Rosen is making, that team is still very not good.
And I know that we've been ragging on the Packers for not being too great, but I thought the Packers would be better than the Cardinals.
I wasn't with the 14-point spread. I thought that was way high, but I thought this should be an easy win. I could have seen a 27-14. I thought that's what we were looking at. I didn't think they were going to go in and score 58 points on them or anything. But there was no reason in the world the Packers should have lost that game. Aaron Rodgers at home against Josh Rosen? Come on. Rosen might be great
in a cold snowstorm.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like a blizzard or anything, but there was snow. It was cold enough.
You know what, though? If you read every article about McCarthy being fired, everybody's saying the same thing that we talked about months and months ago. Stagnant. The team's been stagnant for how many years now? That's been the problem. He refuses to change in a changing NFL. This is. I think I said it was 2 years too late, maybe even longer. But at least they finally did it. And everybody's like, we should have let him wait out the season. No, this is good because now all the potential coaches out there know the Packers' job is open.
Not only that, but McCarthy's been the coach for 13 years. And to be, I mean, granted, I'm not an expert in these things, but I have to think that if you fire him now, you're essentially admitting that the season's over. Yeah. And that's fine.
At 4-7-1, coming off a loss to the damn Cardinals, your season's over.
I see the upside.
Really, the season was over on opening night when Rodgers got injured, but that's beside
and has been playing on.
It was always over because they haven't been good all year, really.
Yeah.
But I guess my point is though that you fire him now, it does give the team time to adjust. It gives everyone in the team time to adjust to the idea that Mike McCarthy isn't going to be around anymore.
On the flip side of that, the guy that's going to be the interim coach going forward,
Regis Philbin.
Yeah, and I mean he was a star when the Dolphins.
Joe Philbin.
Joe, of all the assistant coaches you picked Joe Philbin?
The other thing that's weird about that is he's one of those Mike McCarthy coaching tree, quote unquote, guys.
All two of them.
Right. The Mike McCarthy coaching tree, Mike, is Joe Philbin.
Okay.
And Ben McAdoo.
Oh, that's a pedigree.
Did Mike McCarthy come from a particular coaching tree? Was he a Mike Holmgren guy?
I think so, yeah. I'm not sure.
Yeah. All right.
But interestingly, I read an article, Mike McCarthy, I think has the longest tenure as head coach in Packers history. Longer than Vince Lombardi. Yeah. Longer, maybe Curly Lambeau coached longer, I'm not sure. I'm glad the Packers did it now because now, again, all potential coaches know that job's open. They don't have to wait until the end of the season to find out. So it gives the Packers a jump on things, and I like that.
Yeah.
My only concern now is that there's talk that the Browns are going to hire Mike McCarthy. Can I please, just once, have something go fucking right in my football life? Gentlemen, the Ohio State Buckeyes got screwed. That's what everybody around here is saying, that they got screwed.
No, I think when it comes down to what the committee's trying to do, I think this is as right as they can make it with the college football playoff. Alabama number 1, Clemson number 2. Those make total sense. They've been number 1 and number 2 pretty much all year and undefeated and fine. Notre Dame, 12-0. They didn't win their conference, but hey, they're undefeated.
Yep.
They did it against one of the harder schedules in the nation. That's fine. Let them in. And then Oklahoma, who only had 1 loss all season, 3 points to Texas on a neutral field,
which
beat Texas again on a neutral field by 14 points.
Yep.
And Texas, no pushover. They're a ranked team that's still going to one of the New Year's Day bowls. And I think Oklahoma showed that it's viable to be there, and there's your top 4.
Yeah, I have no issue with Ohio State not making it. I didn't think they deserved it. I think even if Oklahoma had lost, I think you could have made a pretty good case for keeping Georgia in over Ohio State. I don't see that. Well, Georgia would have had 2 losses at that point, though.
Georgia would have had they would have had a big loss to LSU. And I know immediately after the games on Saturday, Kirk Herbstreit was trying to really argue hard for Georgia, saying that if this is about picking the 4 best teams, they just played the number 1 team in the country lost to them by a touchdown, they deserve to be in. It's like, well, okay, sure, Georgia. On paper, take away the records and have teams play each other on the football field, Georgia is probably one of the best 4 teams in the country. But we also have to make the results of the football games that you play matter to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And that's why I also agree with keeping Ohio State out. Because, you start comparing losses, and it's like, well, Oklahoma's loss is not even remotely the same as Ohio State's.
No, and Ohio State, they had the horrible loss to Purdue. Maryland, but for a couple of unlucky bounces, beats them 2 weeks ago. Ohio State's big resume builders where they beat Penn State, who I don't know where Penn State ended up when it was all said and done. and they destroyed Michigan in the last game of the season. But there are people, like a lot of my friends on Facebook, are like, "Oh, the Buckeyes got screwed." And I'm like, they didn't. I think it's a gift that they're 5 right now.
Yeah,
I think that's a gift if you ask me. And a lot of fan bases out there would love for the consolation prize to be the Rose Bowl. Not bad. Right. Not bad at all.
It's the Rose Bowl in a game that you're probably going to win.
Yeah. Oh, they play in Washington?
Yeah, you're going to be Washington.
Yeah.
I mean,
but the Bucks, they weren't that good this year. I think the committee got it right. I think that I got no argument with it. None.
I mean, look. Also,
By the way, Ohio State ended up 6.
Okay, that's still fine.
Also, Georgia's coach was also pushing hard to get Georgia in. So,
well, actually,
even after the loss,
based on now that I think about it, if the committee put Georgia at 5, if Oklahoma had lost, it probably would have been Georgia.
They don't have a lot of respect for Ohio State this year, and I don't blame them. Yeah. And then, look, I'm not saying the Buckeyes are a bad team. Of course, they're not. They're really good. But they're not at that same level as the Clemson, Alabama, Notre Dame, Georgia crew. It's as simple as that. They're a step below that.
And, consider this some minor form of karma for the Urban Meyer situation.
Yeah, it should have been a little more karma than that if you ask me, but that's just, I don't. Unfortunately, I don't own Ohio State like I do the Packers, so I have no say in the matter.
Well, you paid them money.
I put a lot of money into the football team, but we don't get any benefit from that. We don't get any say.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think the committee honestly got it right.
Yeah.
I honestly also think that Georgia is perhaps a bit higher ranked than they should be. I honestly think that conference championships should be meaningful. And if you lose your conference championship, then you lose the right to demand a seat at the table.
Well, here's a question.
When I was watching the reaction to all this stuff, it was kind of being talked about that because it was Kirk Herbstreit that kept bringing up, that Georgia should still make it even though they had lost. Scott Van Pelt made the point of if we're just going to do all this based on that sort of thinking, what the hell is the point of even playing into these things?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What is the point of playing the 12 games? What is the point of playing conference championships? What is the point of determining any of this if we're just going to say, I think this one looks the best at the end of the day? It's all a beauty contest.
Yeah.
Why bother keeping score? Just play and see. I think this team looks better than the other one. If you want to really do it that way, it's silly to not think that these conference championship games don't matter. And if it had been the case where Georgia somehow still made it into the top 4, I don't know how I would be able to defend that. I think that would have been a terrible choice if that was still the case.
Yeah, I forgot they had 2 losses, and here's what I was going to ask you guys. What do you think about, because we've seen it happen, I think, twice now. Ohio State got in after they didn't win their conference, I think, and then Alabama.
They beat out Penn State, right?
What do you think about saying, okay, if you lose the conference championship game, you're out. That's it.
I think that should be a rule.
We have 5 quote unquote power conferences.
Exactly.
And I mean, I know, look, Notre Dame doesn't play in a conference, but
they play just as good of a schedule as anybody else.
Right, and to the strictest letter of the law, of course, they should have one, but it's Notre Dame. We've always made allowances for Notre Dame, and that's just the way it's going to be.
It's not like Notre Dame plays a patsy schedule. They play USC, Stanford, and Michigan. It's a good schedule.
And I still like my idea of the 5 top-ranked conference champions and 3 at large, make it an 18 playoff. Just do that and be done with it. Because that's what's going to, the bitch is going to continue. We're going to end up with an 18 playoff at some point because.
Yeah. The system that they have laid out makes it pretty easy too. You have your 5, like you said, the 5 champions. One of the at-larges, you could say that it's the group of 5 winner who they already designate as a thing. And that way you don't have people say, because really the only other team that has any legitimate gripe, not that they are better than any of these teams, but UCF has won 25 games in a row.
Yeah.
And they beat Auburn pretty badly in the Peach Bowl last year. And yeah, they had to struggle a little bit with Memphis in their conference title game.
Yeah, but
they still came back to win pretty good.
Yeah, they were down like early in that game. It was like, okay, I think they were down like 38-14 at one point, and you're like, there's just no way. And they came back and won.
And they did it with their backup quarterback, and they would still have to play with the backup quarterback. And sure, if you slot them in at number 4, they're still going to get trounced anyway. I don't know how UCF fits into this whole thing, because they already said last year that, hey, we're the real national champions. And they'll probably do the same thing again this year.
Back to back.
Yeah. You know, if they beat, I think they're playing LSU in the Fiesta Bowl.
Right.
I don't know. I feel kind of bad for UCF, but they're also in that unique situation that Boise State once found themselves in, where it's like, you're a good mid-level school. None of those big schools are ever going to play you. So You're never going to be able to, cement yourself in there. And that's why I agree with you too, that the 8 teams is perfect for college.
Yeah.
I really think that 8 is such a perfect number, because right now you would have Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma, Ohio State, and Washington. There's your 5. Ohio and Washington finished 9. So maybe that's the one team that you don't include, but or says that isn't deserving of it. And then you have UCF, as the group of 5. Then you have a real interesting discussion for at-larges. You have Notre Dame probably gets in there.
Yep. Then
it's Georgia. Is it Michigan? Is it Florida? Well, you probably just say it's Georgia. And Michigan has 2 losses, and you're not going to start arguing for Florida or LSU or Penn State once you get down to that point. So
I just think, look, the rankings are always going to be a part of it, because there's 100 and however many odd teams.
Yeah,
so you can't get around the rankings. They've got to be a part of it. So, like I said, it's the 5 highest ranked conference champions, and then for the at-larges, you have to be above 15. You can't go down and like cherry pick a. You know what I mean? And like, if say if you got 6 conference champions, let's say that the MAC conference champion, by some miracle, ends up in the top 15, they take a spot away from an at-large. And that way you've always got, conference championships, that's what the main emphasis is on. But you can't be like an 8-4 conference champion, be ranked 29th, and get in. It's so easy to fix. I don't know why they haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
But as far as this year goes, I've got no complaints as an Ohio State fan. I never thought they deserved to be in it in the first place. And you can say we're better than Oklahoma all you want. My argument to that is, and you should have beat Purdue. Don't lose to Purdue by 29. Yeah. We're not having this conversation. Simple as that.
And people's argument for not expanding the playoff is to say that we want the regular season games to matter. Well, if you put the emphasis on the conference championships like you should, the regular season games will still matter.
They matter even more.
Very rarely are you going to have like a 3-loss team. Like, yes, Washington ended up winning the Pac-12, because the Pac-12 is its own stupid monster that eats itself every year. But very rarely are you going to have a team that loses 3-4 games that would be in playoff contention. You're going to have 2-loss teams that get into a wild card spot, but they'll probably still be beaten. Maybe they can make it upset, make it interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing too. We've got to get over this, more than one loss thing, because sometimes, like, let's say for example that by some weird happenstance we've got the 18 playoff. And Alabama goes 10-2, and they get upset, we'll say, by Auburn in the Iron Bowl, and I don't know, they lose one other game along the way on some fluky thing. Does that really mean that because they've got 2 losses instead of 1 that they're not as good, or that they're not as good as like Michigan? Come on, it's just there's a bunch of things that is so easily fixed, and for this to really take off, and it would be even huger than it already is if they make it 8 teams. Then we're going somewhere, and it takes away a lot of the arguments. And yeah, there's always going to be a debate between 8 and 9. That's fine, but that's not as big a debate as say between 4 and 5 or 3 and 4. It's a much easier case to make. Down at 8 and 9, there's usually a pretty good drop off anyway. So, but the point being, I have no issue with it. Ohio State did not get screwed.
Yeah,
we're going to the Rose Bowl. I'm perfectly content with that. We beat the daylights out of Michigan. What else do you want? We weren't going to win the national championship.
You beat Michigan. You beat Penn State.
Yeah,
that's a good season if you're Ohio State.
It's fine by me. Exactly.
So. Here's the
humiliated Jim Harbaugh again.
Right.
I'm trying to find the breakdown of this, but again, the other argument I think that you have for expanding the field is we've gone 5 years of the college football playoff now. Alabama has been in it. or I guess this is the sixth one. Alabama's been in all six. Clemson has been in all six. Ohio State's been in I think 4 of them, right? And Georgia would have been right up there too, and Oklahoma would have been. And yes, that says something about just the current run of play in college football. But the fact that it's like, do you really want to see Alabama and Clemson play again?
No.
Like Oklahoma, Alabama, I guess we haven't seen that one yet, but no, they played relatively recently, didn't they?
I don't remember.
I think it's just one of those things where, yes, it is 5 years of college football is kind of not the best sample size because you get those runs of teams, but we haven't really had any shake up to the power structure of the top teams in college football. Whereas like once you get into the 5, 6, 7, 8 range, you start to see some different faces in there. You could maybe mess up the system a little bit by getting somebody new.
Another thing too with mine is that I would drop seeding because another argument is that it hurts the traditional bowls. No, like, okay, let's say that Ohio State as the Big Ten Conference champion is in, and let's say that Washington as the Pac-12 conference. Well, guess what? I don't care where they're seeded. They're playing each other in the Rose Bowl in the playoff. That's it. Alabama's going to play. Who do they play?
Alabama is playing.
They play the Big 12. They play Oklahoma in the Sugar Bowl.
Sugar Bowl.
Yeah. It would make it more fun, and the people are going to bitch about the seeding. But come on, really, is it that big a deal that like say the number 4 team gets to play the number 7 team instead of whatever they're supposed to play? It's just so easy to fix. But anyway, we got anything else? I have one thing from Twitter I'd like to bring up real quick. Just a little shout out. Who is the guy that writes for Sports Illustrated? He used to be with Deadspin. Richard, how do you say his last name? Deitch?
Richard Deitch.
Deitch? One of our longtime loyal listeners, Jeremy M. from Twitter, Richard Deitch asked, for those who listen regularly to sports-based podcasts, can you send me the ones you really like and why? Thanks in advance. And Jeremy sent, top of his list, us, at Basically Sports. It's not insider, just some regular dudes talking about sports. So that was very nice of him. We were the top on his list. Nice. So you never know. We might be, Richard may be listening to us right now. I hope we didn't disappoint. And, feel free to drop us into your Sports Illustrated column. We'd have no issue with that whatsoever.
Well, he doesn't write for Sports Illustrated anymore. He writes for The Athletic.
Okay. Well, even better. Drop us anywhere you want to drop our name. We are more than happy with that. So on that note, folks, we're going to call it a night. Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and YouTube. You can find us on Facebook and all your other fine internet clothing outlets. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Later.